Hey guys, so with Worlds right around the corner, I wanted to go ahead and put out a video about sort of the anatomy of a team fight, what goes on, what each role is supposed to be doing, and a little bit about what I pay attention to beyond what the casters are mentioning in order to get a little bit more out of the team fight phase during SPL matches. First thing I'm going to go through is a super abbreviated version of what each role should be doing in a team fight based off of a standard comp. For your backline, this is your ADC and your mage. Hit who is in front of you and don't die. Your jungler, kill the backline of the enemy team. Support, facilitate backline damage, and slow down the dive. Solo, work with the support or with the jungler. Before we go ahead and get into the roles a little more deeply, I'm going to go over what the goals of the team are, depending on a couple of factors. So, if the teams are even, or if you're the team that is ahead, the goal is not the fight. The goal is the stuff after the fight. As F. would say, the stuff after the stuff. This is things like the Gold Fury, the Fire Giant, Phoenixes, the Titan, things like that. If you are behind, your goal is either to get those objectives or to stall out the game. Whatever lead the enemy team has isn't as impactful the later the game goes. 3k at 2 minutes versus 3k at 25 minutes, not the same lead. So if you're behind, it's a minor win for you if you guys go even in a team fight. Most team comps you're going to see in ranked or at a competitive level are going to fall into either the more standard traditional format or a dive comp. The roles on a more standard comp in a little more detail are as follows. The ADC is the main source of objective DPS on a team. Because of this, staying alive is going to be their highest priority, unless of course the team is behind, in which case trading out for the enemy ADC is probably going to be worthwhile. During a team fight, you want your ADC to be close enough to your mage that they can support each other during a dive, but not so close that they both get hit by damage during that dive. Because the ADC is one of the best characters for doing an objective while everyone else on the team fights is an option. However, it does change how that fight will unfold, so it is important that everyone is on the same page. The mage is the main source of teamfight damage. Their goal is to stay alive long enough to get their abilities off on at least one, preferably two or more people during a team fight. As part of this, they want to be close enough to their ADC to help peel in the event of a dive. However, yet again, not so close that they're both being hit by the same damage during that dive. Because the mage is not normally very good at taking objectives, especially things like towers and phoenixes, having them stay alive throughout a fight is not as important as it is for the ADC, and instead it is more important for them to get their damage off. The jungler is one of the key roles for turning a team fight one particular way or the other. Their job is to look for ways to get in and kill one or both of the backline. If they are able to kill the mage before they're able to get their abilities off onto numerous people, or they're able to kill the ADC, then the potential for the enemy team to really win that team fight has gone severely down. During a team fight that supports two main roles are to generate space for the backline to operate and to facilitate the backline damage. Depending on the solo laner your team has, they will either typically help the support generate space and facilitate damage, or help the jungler dive the backline. There are many variations of a dive comp, however, for the most part, the jungler will always be one of the ones diving the backline. The support will typically join into the dive on the backline. The solo laner will either help kill the backline or help the support lock down the backline. And then the ADC and mage will either join the dive and attempt to deal damage to the enemy backline, or they will attempt to stay alive on their own until the dive is completed and their team can rejoin them. Whenever I'm watching the SPL, for the most part, I pay attention to what the casters are talking about. They do a fantastic job of laying the groundwork for what it is you should be paying attention to as team fights begin to unfold. However, I've also, over the years of watching SPL, developed my own sort of checklist of things I like to pay attention to, and they sort of unfold in this order. So first I check to see, is there an experience or a gold lead on the map? So is one team ahead on gold? Is one team ahead in levels? I just sort of run through those real quick. Then I check, is there an item lead? Has that gold lead manifested into items for one team or the other? Has one team had a character back and finish a particularly important item that the other team hasn't? Then I go ahead and check character location. I look at the minimap and I see which team has pressure over an objective. Is the other team going to be able to get there in time for to contest the objective and have a fight? Is there a character that's going to be split pushing? Is there a character that's going to get picked off? There's a lot of information to pull off of the map, just off of character location. Then I'd go ahead and check wave pressure and ward coverage. These are both things that are really hard to see in a video, especially sort of while things are happening, because the minimap doesn't do a great job of clearly showing these. You can see that info, but it's harder to see. So I spend a little bit of time to see, is there a big wave buildup for one team that potentially threatens towers or phoenixes? And I take a look to see, does one team in particular have much more ward coverage over an objective than the other? The thing that I check right before a team fight starts to happen is what ultimates are on cooldown. So as people are really clustered up and things are starting to sort of heat up and hit that boiling point, I want to know who has their ultimate available, who doesn't, how is that going to impact things. And as part of this, I also check what relics are on cooldown. Is there a backliner without relics, and how are they forced to position? Can they not be as impactful? Are they more likely to die to a bit of backline dive? Is there a frontliner who doesn't have a relic? That means that the fight's going to be tipped one way or another. Relics are very, very important in Smite. They're one of the largest cooldowns in Smite, and so keeping track of which team has more relics up and which relics, and paying attention to how those are utilized, is going to be another big tell in how team fights unfold.